I miss my little house. Hi. It's me, Josh Groban. JK, but two people have told me that in the last month, so I guess I'm his doppelganger.
Trauma.
Anyway, I'm halfway through this job here in Brooklyn, and I'm really starting to miss our house, and I'm really starting to miss working on DIY projects. I thought I would make a quick video to show you my favorite projects from each room, which will also give you a little bit of a house tour since I haven't done that yet since everything's been finished. I did make a video for each room as I finished them, so if you want to go back and check those out after you watch this one, there's a whole playlist for you. I'll put a link to that in the description box to make it easy. I will say that some of those videos are super cringe since I was still figuring out how to not be awkward on camera. I mean, let's be real, I'm still kind of awky. But it does give you a little bit of insight into how the house looked when we first bought it back in 2020. Not good. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with all this talking, so let's get into it. Okay, we're starting in the entryway because that's where I'd let you in the house. I want to talk about this little console table I made because I love it. I actually made this here in Brooklyn in like 2018, but it's still holding up. I wanted to do like a mid-century inspired kind of piece, and I think it works. I like all the shelving so I can display my little friendette sculptures, and it fits perfectly in that spot. All right, moving on to the dining room. Ben and I wanted to keep this room pretty simple and clean, so that's what we did. I wanted to paint a feature wall so it had something in there, so I did that. And I thought it would be kind of cool instead of just putting a bunch of artwork to make a graphic floating shelf. So I made that from scratch out of a 2x8 and stained it. And with going with the simple vibe, we just put one plant up there. She's doing really good. We call her Rapunzel. Okay, onto the kitchen. We totally gutted it in here because it was dated and gross and just not the vibe. The video I made for that one shows the whole before and after process, so you should definitely check it out if you want to see because it's a big difference. I think my favorite thing about the kitchen though is probably those open floating shelves. There was these giant upper cabinets there before that surrounded the window, so it made it feel small and dark. So once we put in those floating shelves, it just felt open and nice. I could go on and on about all the little things that are better in the kitchen, but I'm gonna move on to the other side of the wall, which is where the living room is. This is where Ben and I hang out the most, and this is also the first room that I worked on when we moved in. I didn't do anything big in here. There was some wall damage that I fixed and I painted it white for a clean canvas. What I do want to talk about is something that I built, and that's the record stand. I also made this back in Brooklyn back in the day before I had a YouTube channel, so I don't have a video for it, but I want to make a smaller version for the basement when I'm back, so let me know if that's something you'd want to see.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
I think that's it for in here, so let's move on to the hallway. This is a small space, but it's also like the corridor to like every part of the house, so I wanted it to have a big impact. I wanted to do something kind of fun and different in here, so it was my first time painting a ceiling black. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this little space, so let's move on to the primary bedroom. I love this room. It's small, but it does the job. Since it is so tiny, I needed to have a headboard, but I also wanted it to be a feature wall. I took some 1x2s and painted them, and it turned out way better than I was expecting. I also painted it the same black color that I did in the hallway, so there was a flow. I kind of skimmed over the process in the video because I had so much to do in here, but I did break it down step by step if you want to check it out. Moving on to the guest room. It's really nothing crazy, but when we first moved in, it was like a dark blue and the paint was all over the ceiling, so just painting it white made it feel so much brighter. One thing I did do was make another headboard out of more 1x2s. I went for a more neutral tone with the paint color. Our whole goal was when guests came to stay, it would just feel easy breezy and bright in there. And yeah, there's not much else to talk about in here, so let's go to the bathroom. This was also a total gut job. Like everything was ripped out except the bathtub. There was actually no shower head in there, it was just a bathtub with plaster around it that wasn't waterproof.
Oh, really? That sucks.
I had to rip all that out so that way we could have a plumber out to get all that installed. One of my favorite things is the little niche I put in for all our like shampoo and conditioner and all that stuff. It's pretty narrow, but it's super long, so it holds everything perfectly. I did end up paying tilers to come in and do the floor and the tub surround because I had never done it before and I didn't want to mess it up. Sometimes you just gotta leave it to the pros. Anyway, let's talk about the stairwell. This is one of my favorite projects, not only because it's fun and colorful, but because one of my best friends, Trish Anderson, makes these runners. She makes a bunch of really cool stuff, so if you haven't checked out her work before, you definitely should. These stairs had some really gross old carpet that had tears in it, so I ripped all that out. I felt like painting the stairs white would really make the runners pop, so that's what I did. Anyway, let's go upstairs so we can talk about what went down up there. It was fully carpeted up here and it had some built-ins that were cute, but they were falling apart, so I ripped everything out and kind of started fresh. I painted and put in new flooring, but there was this giant column in the middle of the room that I wanted to hide, so I put in this kind of like partition wall made out of 1x2s. It was honestly kind of complicated to figure out all the angles to make it fit, but I think it turned out pretty good. I also built that bookshelf in the back corner because we needed more storage, and it all just kind of flows together. Ooh, I feel like I've talked so much already, but we have a little bit more house to go, so let's head back downstairs. Okay, we're about to head into the basement, but before we do, I want to talk about this stairwell because it's one of the last projects I did before I left, and it's also like this transition area between the main level and down there. We were going for a more 70s vibe in the basement, so I wanted to kind of have it as like this space where you're going into like the chill zone. I redid the floors on the stairs and the landing, and I painted the walls white, but I kept all the wood accents and trim so that way it kept it original to the house. There's nothing really that's my favorite in this space except for maybe the flooring, but otherwise it's just not gross anymore, so I guess that's all my favorite. And now we can go to the basement. I have a lot of favorite projects down here, so let's get into it. First thing is the fireplace that didn't exist down there before, so it's created a whole new vibe and warmth. It's electric, but it gives off really good heat and nice light. I also like the stone wallpaper. It feels kind of kitschy and it just works. Next up is the carpet wall behind the bar that I built. That also just adds a little bit of warmth and it feels really good when you touch it. I don't know, just the idea of having carpet on the walls just felt right, so I'm glad I did it. Another thing I did was put in some hidden doors so that way there wasn't just a bunch of doors down there. I did one behind the bar so that way we had a storage area. It was fun to try and make it disappear with the carpet. And then I put in one on the wood panel wall so that way we'd have a little separation between the utility side of the basement and the chill zone. When we first bought the house, the basement was completely unfinished, so it's a big transformation down here.
10 out of 10. Yup.
All right, we made it to the final room, which is the bathroom. If you're still here at this point, I appreciate you. So yeah, the bathroom. It's kind of the whole reason we went with the 70s vibe in the basement. When we were just looking at the house, I saw that wall paneling in there and I was like totally in love. I didn't do a lot in there aside from painting, but I did update the light fixtures as well as the faucets, so it felt more modern. I also did a few other things, but at this point I feel like I've talked so much, so if you want to see those, you should check out the video.
No.
We did it! You saw the whole house. It's actually a week later because my brain was mush after all that talking and time got away from me, but I'm wearing the same shirt for continuity, so that's something. I am curious to hear if any of these projects were your favorite. Let me know in the comments if you feel like it. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. I have been working a bajillion hours, so hopefully everything I said in this video makes sense. Again, if you want to see what any of these rooms look like before, I'll link that playlist in the description box. Like this video if you want to give me some love, subscribe if you want to do that as well. Oh, and one last thing. I want to make sure that you're registered to vote because this year's a big one. Like super big. Your voice definitely matters, so you gotta use it and you gotta vote. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox and I'll see you soon. Bye. What I do want to talk about is something that I built and there's a fruit fly in here. I also built that bookcase in the back corner because we need a little, I need to, wait, what am I even talking about?